She's a repeat guest here on Suncoast, people, and I wanted to have her back because she is one of the funniest and most creative people I know. I don't know many people. Last time Annie Morrison was here, she cracked me up. And I thought I was going to have to pause the show.
And I had to learn Korean, to at least the alphabet, so I could phonetically write out for Mrs. Kim, so she could pronounce, because she would get out there and sing, "Take the living from my hay, run it roo, run it far, if me tray tonight." You know, so I had to kind of help them. The kids were singing, you know, because they would do, you know, rock stuff too, and they go, "Can't get it up, I'm a honky, stop. Can't get it up." I said, guys, it's can't get enough of that funky stuff.
I recovered somewhat. Despite things going off the rails, again, she's back. This time we're going to talk more about her organization she co-founded with ex-husband and best friend, Blake Walton. Ex-husband and best friend.
I know. That's a story.
We'll find out more about that in a bit. And we're going to talk about creativity. What is it? What inspires it? Why some people can't live without a creative outlet and some people don't have a creative bone in their bodies. Annie Morrison.
Well, I'm going to try and be very maudlin this time. I'm going to be very serious and maudlin, and we won't laugh one bit. You know that's not going to work. Okay.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
No, you bring it on.
We will bring it on.
Okay.
How have you been?
I've been good. I've been really good. And very busy.
Yeah.
We continue to do SARASOLO Productions, which is to help people develop solo theater, their own solo theater art, and find a way to present them when we can, because we're a company without a home. So that's always a bit of a challenge. But in fact, this next 3 weekends coming up, we're going to be teaming up with the Sarasota Contemporary Dance in their in-studio series with 3 artists that are part of our The Solo, which is helping people, adults and professionals, with their pieces moving forward. And we have 3 people who are beyond their 10-minute, 20-minute, their maybe 45 minutes, maybe a complete show, but they need to find out if it works. And if you're doing solo theater, you then have to let the actor, especially if you're writing for yourself, to inform the writer. And so we like to get them in front of an audience, and we tell the audience, you're not really here to, and even for a talk back, to tell what you liked or did not like about it. Your purpose is to be the scene partner for this person, because solo theater, you have to be so connected to your audience. And they will know by having to lift themselves to perform, the actor will inform the writer what works and what doesn't work and what they need to do next. And it works like a charm. You know, it's a relief for the audience. They don't feel like, oh God, now I have to say something. They just have to enjoy the show. And so I've been very, very busy helping these people present themselves with their best foot forward. And at the same time, I'm getting ready to go off to do my solo piece that I've done called Merrily from Center Stage. I don't know if we talked about that before.
We did, and as a matter of fact, you had just finished up at the Players Theater here in Sarasota with that, and you were heading to New York?
Well, what I'm actually doing is I'm going to London first in May. I'm going to London first with the idea of then maybe in the fall going back to New York for a limited run, maybe even 5 performances, because it wants to be filmed for a special, which would be kind of cool. So we're talking about what theater, how we're going to do that, and it'd be perfect. Merrily We Roll Along has been revived with Jonathan Groff and Daniel Radcliffe and Lindsay Mendez, and I was invited to come up to see that, and they're wonderful. So they're going to be taking it to Broadway. I don't know how long they'll run. It didn't do very well the first time around. But it'll be definitely fun with the 3 of them. And I would love to come up and do it either just before, because my show is kind of a little bit of a history about the original, or shortly after they open, and find some way that we can have a companionship. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Wow. How are things going with SARASOLO?
interesting. Like I said, we're a company that doesn't have a home. I wish we did. There are lots of little wonderful companies in Sarasota that don't have homes. And I've been for years trying to find a way to get these little companies together so we could have a black box, maybe 3 little black box spaces that kind of interconnect in a way with offices all around so that they complement each other.
And you could share resources.
We could share resources, and I think that's a goal, but it's a long haul to try and let that to happen. So we will be working, like I've got the solo coming up again this summer, and inviting people who want to come and work on their pieces, and then again it's always fun in the place where we can present afterwards. So it's a challenge, but I enjoy it. It looks like we may be going out of state now. We're invited to come to California, we're invited to come to Ohio, Chicago, and that's what we'd love to do, is just go places and help people develop and be creative about their work.
Your ex-husband, Blake, is your partner in crime with this organization.
Horribly. We're going to go to jail soon. No.
And how does that work, working with your ex?
Because Blake and I have been friends from the very beginning. And sometimes I felt like, I don't know why we got married, because we were more like brother and sister. But it was great. We have a beautiful son because of that. But we decided that we should dump the marriage and keep the friendship. And because I think we were keeping each other from the things that we wanted to explore. We're mature that way. And then we just kept finding ways to reconnect. And we both had this love for solo theater. We connected, and I'll direct his pieces, he'll direct my pieces, and it just works out great.
When were you first introduced to solo performance?
Yeah, I had been loving solo theater because I also do cabaret work where it's just me on stage with a pianist or whoever was going to be backing me up. But in the process of doing cabaret, I discovered that I was also a very good storyteller. And so my form of cabaret is not just, hey, this next song was written by, and let me tell you a little anecdote about that person. I really have a story to tell and a theme that runs through it, and the music is just like a little musical. Helps punctuate the emotional world of the storytelling that I'm doing. And I created a great love for that, and I found a piece of material because I'm Celt, I'm Scottish, and I was raised on Joseph Campbell.
Okay.
And I thought it'd be fun to create a theater piece that had Celtic mythology involved with it, and the love of the hero's journey, in a sense. And I created this piece, and I thought I would have like 9 different people write for me and the music. And a dear friend of mine said, "Annie, you're a wonderful writer, and you're a great storyteller. You do the whole piece." And that's when I discovered, oh, yeah, I can do this. Even something that isn't just a cabaret show. I've got things I have to say, and the poetry in which to do it. I love the theater, and I love ways of telling story that's theatrical, and that's the challenge, you know. Lots of times I'll see people who say, I think I got a solo piece, and I'll look at it and I'll say, I think you have a TED Talk. Would you like to make this more theatrical, and how can we explore and figure that out? So Blake and I got together and started teaching. We teach at Booker High School. I may have mentioned this before. Booker High School with their juniors, which is a perfect age and a perfect group to introduce this to. And the idea is to introduce them to all elements of the patchwork quilt of solo performance. So it's not just writing a solo play. We look at cabaret work, we look at physical theater, how do you tell stories spoken word, cabaret, is it a solo musical, which is kind of cabaret, are you a performance artist? Are you a mixture of all of that? Do you use social media, not social media, but media? And after giving them a smattering of that, we allow them to tell their own story. But they took it up the next notch. I mean, they had props, and they had lots of it memorized, and movement and dance and spoken word in the middle of things. They really were fantastic. So I'm just so pleased. Yeah.
How does one find their own voice?
La 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 la. No. I found one. No.
But is it you? And it is yours.
It's my voice, absolutely.
I'm no ventriloquist
No,
here.
people say they want to imitate me because it's a quirky enough voice, but okay, go for it. It's interesting. I think we all have a voice. And some people have not had any help when they were growing up to realize that they have something to say. I think that's what's fun about going into the middle school with an intergenerational program, helping them create a monologue by talking to an elder, and they have to be the elder somewhere in their lifetime, which is a great introduction. And then talking to the high school kids. This is such a good age because teenagers and elders feel like nobody cares about them or they have nothing to say anymore, you know? And the junior age is a perfect age, that 16, 17, 18-year-old who they do have something to say, and you just encourage them enough to say, go for it. And Blake and I basically stay out of everybody's way. We just encourage. We can guide.
Kind of set the parameters.
Set the
Here's
parameters,
what we're
guide,
doing.
go for it. Here you go. Here's the play. Here's things to play with.
Okay.
And I think that's why some people say, I think I found my art form, because we'd allowed them to play and explore and say, you've got a voice. Go for it.
When is it that you think people stop playing or knowing how to play? Somewhere in childhood?
That's a good question. And I think if you don't have the enrichment of playing as a child, and I mean not playing on your phone or playing a video game, but actually playing, you know, having a fantasy life. And I don't see a lot of that with kids anymore. They do, but even my son, when he was growing up, I mean, he had a box of costumes, and he was allowed to. There was a day he just wanted to be the Little Mermaid, you know. So I made him a tail and gave him a little blue bra, and he just sat on the couch all day fantasizing being the Little Mermaid. I didn't care. I noticed that when he was playing with kids in the neighborhood, they wanted to play what they saw on television, or in a movie, or in a video game. And so it was a challenge for Huck to get them to know you can play in your head. You know, we can go beyond that. I'm always worried about school, because schools have a tendency to take the creativity out of learning, you know? And because if you don't have creativity in the learning process in school, you stop the critical thinking learning. The creative listening goes away.
What's creative listening?
Creative active listening is where you're really paying attention. You're not in your head thinking about the next thing you're going to ask somebody. You actually listen. I do an exercise with the middle school kids about sending out their hearing, and really take in what's being said and forget about everything else. If you have to stop and let something, so you really listen to what somebody's saying to prompt something else that you want to say, and allow your imagination to go when someone speaks. Can you see what they're saying?
So it's about processing and being in the moment. And you mentioned critical thinking, the what the other person is saying.
Do you know, my dad was a wonderful teacher. He was a music professor. And I remember a history student came up to me years later and said, I learned more about the history of the world taking your dad's music history than any other classes that I had. Because in order to understand what was going on musically in a period of time, your dad talked about what was the literature, what was going on in the dance world, what was going on in the theater, who was writing, what was the politics at the time. When you used to teach math, you also learned music. They were taught together at one point. And people forget about that.
Funny you would say that, because most of the people I know who are really good at music are also really good at math.
Yeah, because you need that. And architecture needs math. And there's a whole other part of the brain that you use with architecture, because you have to be creative. Creative arts should be a part of the whole program, and we're seeing it cut all the time. So I don't think we have well-rounded humans. And so if creativity is taken out of the child from the beginning, then they're not going to see theater or dance or music. They're not allowing themselves to be there.
And what do they become?
Oh, they become television watchers. and they became gamers. And so what's sad about being in the classroom now with kids is they don't know how to socialize. It's really interesting. It's hard for them too. It's terrifying for them to have to look at you and pay attention to you.
That's something.
It's very uncomfortable.
And this is fairly recent, you're seeing?
Over the years, it's very uncomfortable, and they don't know how to ask questions anymore. And so communicating is a text. And I said, now at least when you're on the phone, you can hear a voice, and that's a very important part of communication. But then to see body language and cues, when that's taken away and you only have this, you have miscommunication all the time. You can misunderstand when somebody's saying something, And so I really want people to go back to this and pay attention and not be afraid to communicate. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
But if they can do that, they're a much better human being. And creativity is, it's funny because I had a brain injury in a car accident when I was 13. I can't remember if we talked about this before.
It doesn't matter.
And I was absolutely fascinated by the brain because of it. Because I didn't know where the brain injury, what damage, and how, of course, the brain now we know is so fantastic, it reroutes itself. And there are other parts of your brain that teach that part of the brain that's been damaged what to do. It's an amazing thing, the brain.
Do you think being analytical is actually being creative in a way? Because
Oh, I think so.
you have to, if you're going to analyze a situation, you have to look at all the components and see how they fit together or how they don't fit together or what's missing.
And then you need the right brain to kick in and put you in present moment, so that you can take the next step, Oh no, it's a wonderful brain. The whole brain is the best. If you get a whole brain experience, that's why I like musical theater so much.
That's a whole brain experience?
To me, it's whole brain.
Yeah.
Because characters are talking, they're telling a story, they're in the moment of something, and all of a sudden the character has to begin to sing because they're emotional. They can't express themselves in words anymore. Shakespeare, if he were alive now, would be writing for musicals. Because of the prose and verse of what he does. And I think people who do musical theater do very well with Shakespeare because they understand that. But the character can no longer talk in words anymore, so he has to go into song to express their emotional self. And then they can't contain themselves anymore, and they have to be physical in their space. So all the brain lights up when you're doing musical theater. I think it's fantastic. When I was working with persons with developmental disabilities, I wanted to do it in a musical theater setting, so that we could light up everybody's brain. And how do I talk to people who are autistic or people with Williams syndrome, people with Down syndrome, so we could all be on the same page, because their brains all think differently. And that's what made it so much more fun and delightful.
And they learn differently. They all learn differently.
And I'm a person with dyslexia, so I have my own interesting little quirks,
Yeah. It's interesting. People who are differently abled and mentally processed differently. Do you know Beaver Shriver?
I should. The name sounds familiar.
He owns Rise and Nyes, which is a coffee ice cream shop downtown.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And his family, the Shrivers, have very deep roots in helping people with mental disabilities. And his store, he's got 35 employees. He doesn't need 35 employees, but that's not the point. The store is a workshop, a training ground.
Oh, excellent.
For people who, may have different types of cognitive, differently abled people, from Down syndrome to other folks.
Well, you need to introduce
and they're all
us,
working there.
Because I would love to work with his employees. That'd be fun. Let's arrange that.
We will arrange that. We will arrange a get together. You and I should go. We've been talking about having coffee anyway.
I know. And when are you going to write your solo piece? Just saying. When are you guys going to write your solo piece? Let me know.
I don't know what I would write.
Oh, that's why you should come do the solo with us, and you'll find out.
I've got like 100 stories that I could.
Oh, excellent. Well, then you got 100 solo pieces. You can put a few of them in one. Yeah. Yeah, you should do it.
All right.
And even if you don't want to perform it, you can write for somebody else.
You know, when I just had the thought, yeah, when things settle down, but that is one of the biggest lies in the world, right next to the check is in the mail and let's
When
do
things
lunch.
settle down,
When
yeah.
they
Yeah.
never settle down.
No. Well, that's good, though. Then, otherwise you'd be bored. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Are you ever bored?
No, I'm too busy being creative. That's how you get out of boredom, is you allow yourself to be creative. Do something creative.
Okay.
Get into that little character in your right brain that's excited and wants to play.
And creative can be anything from
Sure.
picking up a craft
Absolutely.
to painting, writing, getting involved with theater,
Writing a poem,
writing a
Yeah.
poem. Yeah.
writing your thoughts down, and then finding how to make it theatrical. Yeah, it's fun.
See, I don't have to make my thoughts theatrical. I'm just a big old drama queen. So
Oh, excellent. I'm
Drama.
a comedy queen. Blake and I made a pact that we were going to live in a comedy, not a drama. So
how's that worked out for you?
It's pretty good. I mean, we always know that. Well, I think I can listen to people better because of that, because I can take you in a different way than if I live in your drama with you. Because I know when I die, we're all going to dance at Irmgard's wedding. You may want to be a Macbeth. That's fine, but we're all going to dance at Irmgard's wedding.
I'm actually more of a comedic, but I'm a dark comedy kind of guy.
I love dark comedy. Yeah.
I'm the one who will laugh at the person who slips and breaks their leg on a banana peel kind of thing.
Well, I
Not
don't-
slapstick,
yeah.
but
Well, slapstick's fun too. I mean, something like good old slapstick and farce.
yes.
But
yeah, I'm definitely. I look at the absurdity. That was the word I was going to go to talk about irony, but the absurdity of
well,
life.
that's how you can get through being on planet Earth. Because don't you think the world's just getting nuttier and nuttier and nuttier? It's like, okay,
It is.
can't write this stuff down. It's
it
like
is.
you can't make this up.
Every day. My God. Well, Dorothy Parker had a great
Love her.
line.
Love her so.
Is that she would walk into a situation and say, "What fresh hell is this?"
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
day seems to be a new fresh hell for us to experience.
Yep. So you just have to tap dance your way out of it.
Indeed, if I knew how to tap dance,
Well, flat ball change. We'll try that next week. Okay.
I would like to. And what's next? What's next for you? I mean, you've got a lot coming up,
All
but,
right, I'm
but
getting-
beyond Sarasolo.
Beyond Sarasota. Well,
and your show.
I'm going. The next thing is to get London going, and then if I can get Merrily filmed, which would be lovely. Then I'd like to put that aside, because I'd like to get Linda Lovely Goes to Broadway back. It's my tribute to a woman with Down syndrome. I was getting ready to do that when COVID hit, and I've got a little voice going, I've got something we need to write. I got something need to write, and another little cabaret show coming up. I've got something to say. I know the perfect music, so I've got to put things aside so I can get to them, because they want my attention.
Annie Morrison,
Bob.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you
And thank you.
for watching, for participating, for your contributions. Patreon.com/Suncoast People. And of course, the emails at info@suncoastpeople.com. If you want to reach Annie Morrison, sarasolo.org.
Well, our website is sarasolo.org, but you want to reach us, you can go to sarasoloorg@gmail.com. So there's two O's together in the middle.
Okay.
sarasoloorg@gmail.com.
It's right underneath her, right here. If you want more information on that. In the meantime, I'm Robert Timm. Thanks for watching. And there we go.
Here we go. Toast.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.